You know what I love to do? Eat. You know what you love to do? Eat. So why not cook some home-cooked meals and eat them from our sponsor, Blue Apron? Yeah! I wrote the ad. Blue Apron sends you food. It comes in pre-portioned bags. You follow the step-by-step instructions, and you make the food for less than $10 a person. It is delicious, and you impress the people in your house. No one in your house? Tweet me, Greg Miller, the photos of your food this week, and I'll try to send back a video of me impressed with it. Check out this week's menu, like this month's spiced zucchini enchiladas, and get your first 3 meals free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/gamescast. You will love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so don't wait. That's blueapron.com/gamecast. Blue Apron, a better way to cook. Or as I like to say, don't eat a shoe. And I'm not joking about the photos, motherfucker. Try me. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Kinda Funny Gamescast, episode 122. I'm one of your hosts, Greg Miller, as Tim Gettys prepares for Kinda Funny Live 3, kindafunny.com/KFL3. I'm joined by Polygon's Nick Robinson.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you? Yes, a round of applause.
That's so nice. I'm getting clapped for by Adam Sessler.
I know,
Not to ruin your intro, but this guy's here too.
Games industry legend, Adam Sessler. Yeah.
It's more like a mini tale.
Oh, mini tale?
Yeah,
Your epic that goes on and on and on.
I remember the day I found out that, so me and Adam have a shared history. I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit.
Of course, topic 2, I do believe.
And the way I found out Adam was working at Rev3 when we were working there together was we had our EP, Zach, who's amazing, was also like, a little secretive sometimes, and so I found out.
The ink had to dry.
Yeah, right. So I saw him floating around once or twice. And I'm like, maybe he just likes hanging out here.
Sure.
And then one day I came into the office, and the desk next to mine had a post note on it that said Adam Sessler, and I'm like, there's no way it's like the same guy from who I watched like my entire childhood on TV, right? And then it was him.
Not that you're old. Not that
there is this other guy named Adam Sessler.
Yeah.
Because back when I started out in TV, I would Google myself.
Sure.
I guess it wasn't even Google then. I would search myself in some.
You would ask Jeeves yourself.
AOL keyword.
So I didn't. I wouldn't come up first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
There was some Israeli artist
Interesting.
who for like years would be the first hit, and there was that real big moment, probably about 5 years in, where it was me.
I'm currently engaged in a similar SEO battle with an actor named Nick Robinson who was in Jurassic World.
I saw him pop up when I searched your name. Yeah.
That kid, I'm like, we're currently at this, like, we're at about a 50-50 split on Tumblr right now in terms of the tags. It's like half people photoshopping him naked and then half people making video game jokes. Yeah. It's like a perfect 50-50 split right now.
For me, it happened so quietly I didn't even pay attention. But for years, when you do it, it was Greg Miller, Elvis impersonator in Vegas, Greg Miller lockpicking for beginners, and then slowly crept my way up to like now I just dominate all these other Greg Millers.
Was part of that, did you incorporate those skill sets into your
No,
brand?
I wish. I always thought about buying the Lockpickers for Beginners book and doing it.
The idea of like an Elvis impersonator who's also like a cat burglar.
Yeah. Nobody saw it coming.
Persona 5 is about?
Yeah, he's there to steal hearts.
Yeah.
He's there to do all
Just
that
like
stuff.
Elvis.
Yeah,
Maybe that'll be
exactly.
like Monaco 2.
Yes.
That'll be that story.
Ready for Monaco 2.
Steal that.
Go ahead, feel free. If you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kinda Funny Gamescast where each and every week we get together and talk about all the games and things we love. If you want to get it on time, I say, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunnygames. If you want to get it late, no big deal. You can head over to youtube.com/kindafunnygames where we break it out topic by topic, day by day, until it goes up as one big video in MP3. Nick, you are a much requested Kinda Funny Games person. Yeah? Yeah, our interactions on the Twitter, that happens. That makes it happen.
True. That's really nice to hear. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. I watch the stuff that you produce. I mean, the way this happened is kind of a direct result of you believing that no one was watching during the workday.
Right, we were watching. We were doing the Kinda Funny morning show, me and Andy Cortez, and what had happened is Nick Scarpino, as of course, fucked everything up, and he got sick and went home. So Andy stepped in, but that meant I needed a co-host for GOG as well because we already had Jared Petty coming in, and I was like, chat, let me know realistic suggestions. Because chat, I love the tweets that are always like, hey, have you ever thought about having Tom Hanks on? I'm like, oh, no, it's never occurred to me that he'd be great on a podcast. And I was like, realistic deadbeats that are at home right now during San Francisco workday.
Right.
And I was like, but I guess if any of them were watching, I'm like, none of them were watching. And you and Danny O'Dwyer immediately pinged. You're like, we're deadbeats, we're watching.
Because me and Danny are both on that work from home lifestyle here in the Bay Area. And so we have nothing better to do than watch everyone else's content and just to kind of giggle. I was watching in bed. Nice. I was watching in bed that episode, and I just kind of like was leaned over, watching on my laptop, and then I was like, "Hey, I can DM him."
Intimate.
Oh yeah,
but very, very.
I joined him in bed.
You'd be surprised how much content of the three of us is consumed by people in various states of undress,
Oh,
in their bed, on their phone.
Yeah,
it's just
in their boxers in their computer chair.
It's the way, like it's funny, like working from home, I've been able to kind of flip it so that I'm actually producing a lot of my content also in my underwear, because most of what I do is voiceover stuff, so I can be in any state of undress and nobody has to know. Like, until now.
Well, yeah,
You've completely ruined your videos for me.
Yeah, every Carboys.
He's sitting there scratching.
If you averaged it together, every episode of Carboys, I probably made that show with 1.5 pieces of clothing on, just all together. If you average it all together.
How does that make you feel, Adam?
It's something I learned from him. Adam's entire brand for over a decade has been built around
no pants.
Yeah.
Now the next generation's coming in, no pants, no shirt, maybe a bathrobe if I'm feeling like cold.
No pants, no shirt, service.
Yes, that's our slogan.
Now, Adam, we did a survey recently as well through the Kind of Funny fans that will announce a whole bunch of results for Kind of Funny Live 3. But you also popped up that people wanted you back.
Well, that's nice.
You've been on a bunch of our shows throughout the years. We thank you for your support.
No, I like stopping by.
Yeah.
Everything got so easy once I moved back to San Francisco.
Yeah, that's usually helpful.
Even though there are podcasts to be done in Los Angeles,
yeah,
that means getting in a car to go to them.
No good.
Which, it's a nice thing. Podcasts are easier in San Francisco.
Exactly. Yeah, we're all hipper and cooler.
It's true. We were most of the time we're doing a podcast. Just
there's already a podcast
Life
going
is a
on.
podcast without a mic.
Right.
On.
It's really it would be easier to just block out the time in a day that we're not recording our voices and just classify that as non-cast.
Well, that's always the hard thing of trying to get on a phone call with somebody. And like, well, I'm recording all day long. Yeah. There's no time. And the ones that really piss me off are the ones who text you or call you when you're live. Like, this is a live show. I've tweeted I'm live. Why would you then 15 minutes later hit me up asking if I can talk?
Right.
You know what's happening.
Yeah, I call those calls mom.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost, I can, it's going to happen probably during the course of this. I'll feel the buzz in my pocket. Yeah. And it's my mom trying to reach out.
Oh, that's sweet.
Oh, that's adorable, though. Yeah. My mom watches, which then gets very creepy because we talk about creepy things on the other shows, not this show. Here we're talking about Far Cry 5. I know, I love it. I love the transitions. I love the jingles. Usually it's just me. I'm excited to have another jingler here. No, so Far Cry 5, as the posting of this on Patreon, the embargo will be up. It's the first game I'm able to break open my little E3 Judges Week book, show my notes that I was taking. It's an Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4 loot crate, I do believe. Yeah, there it is. Hey, everybody.
I'm looking at your E3
Uncharted 4. Right now. Well, that's just Far Cry 5, which we're about to talk, so there are no more secrets.
True and interesting.
Except for. Well, yeah, I don't, do you, see, some people take the doodle of a Superman logo, as you might see there, Superman logo. Some people might take the doodle of a Superman logo to say, oh, he's not paying attention. That's me listening intently.
My immediate reaction, actually, the reason I didn't talk about it is because I was like, you know how there was the rumor that Rocksteady was going to do a Superman game?
Oh my God, can you imagine my E3 secrets?
I know.
I would have died of a heart attack if they were doing the Justice League or the Superman game or whatever. Yeah. God. But it said Far Cry 5.
Yes. Far Cry 5.
Ubisoft.
Which looks so interesting.
Exactly. You and I have seen the same presentation.
Yes.
Nick, you know nothing.
No, I'm a commenter. I've seen the piece of key art, and I saw those cute little teasers that they posted. It's
because we're recording this before the embargo lifts, so the trailer that drops on the Friday that this will drop on Patreon isn't alive for us to see yet.
Yes,
we've seen it all.
I actually don't believe I've seen the trailer.
Okay.
So, yes.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah,
you're a judge, so you get to wear the fancy hat.
How you doing?
I was a friend.
I judge you attractive. Friends and family, baby.
Every so often, I get a call. It's like, hey, we're doing this. You want to come by and see it? And I'm like, yeah, I still like doing that. I love seeing new
you
stuff.
Only get to be a judge for like 2 out of every 365 days. Adam Sessler is Adam Sessler every day, and so he gets those friend calls all year long.
The legend, the video game legend, Adam Sessler.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go for like Epic because just because because that's like Beowulf. And I like to think that I also elicit groans for freshmen in college when they have
Sessler. Oh my God. So Far Cry 5, what questions do you have? Where do you want me to start with?
So many. Okay, so the big thing, and the thing that we've kind of known for a minute, is that it takes place in the United States of America.
That's correct. Montana.
That's a really big difference
exactly.
from like all the past Far Cry games. I guess my number one thing, and the thing that's like most exciting and interesting to me from the key art and everything else, is like the vibe that this game seems to be putting out is some like adult quasi-Christian religious cult, maybe weird racist undertones thing going on, and I'm like, that to me is really exciting because it's so risky for a series and maybe a company that's not always the riskiest. So is it what I think it is?
You are on the money in terms of what's happening is we're in Montana, present day, and yes, we have a cult/militia that is this family that has taken over a town pretty much, basically. And they've done it throughout years and years and years and years of things. So the point that like you go in there and now you're on that side and you can't get help from getting out. You have to find people inside, and like similar Far Cry games, to take these people down and do all this different stuff. And so it's the idea. You're on the money of there's the cult leader Joseph. He's the father. Then he's got the father being the priest. Then his brothers Jacob and John, and then the half sister Faith.
I mean, like right off the bat, like book of the Bible, book of the Bible, book of the Bible, Faith. Like
I mean, like that's my thing about it. After going in and watching the presentation, leaving, getting back on the bus, and talking to like Austin Walker and stuff about it, was the fact of. This sounds so fascinating. This is such an awesome idea for a game.
Yeah.
Well,
but can they stick the landing?
The gentleman, I'm blanking on his name. He might be in your magic book.
Dan Hay?
Yeah, Dan.
My magic book.
Wow, this man gives presentations. Like
oh my God.
He's got the most imposing build and this deep baritone that like as he's describing his thinking about how he got to this game it was just kind of
Sessler, get better on there.
I'm getting better on there.
Kevin's coming over here yelling. I like how he's got to hop around the giant TV he bought to find out and tell us.
But you know, it really was. I mean, like, and he said it's this idea of America feeling like it's on a precipice.
Yeah.
You know, and that it's a feeling. And I remember this because I think he and I are of similar ages. He was thinking back to the 80s when, you know, once again, with this kind of threat of nuclear war that was out there, you always felt that there was this sense of precipice. And he thinks that America has kind of come back to that sensation. So that's why I think that whether or not it will stick the landing, the intention is for it to stick the landing.
I'm kind of excited because just the idea that someone's making a game about that is not afraid to like brush up against the current political environment, how weird and scary everything is, like that makes me excited. Just that anyone's even willing to try, because it's inevitable that this game is going to, no matter what it does, no matter how it handles it, infuriate a bunch of people. But and I hope they handle it smartly. But the fact that they're willing to take this risk and make something that's like this bold that's the exciting thing.
Well, they talked about it, right? In the same presentation I'm sure you saw, of just like the idea came up years ago and they were like, not the right time. And then they started in on it and then everything kind of has happened around it. What's interesting about it to me is the fact that I think the flack they've caught from already, just the key art that's up in our current timeline, is people are like, oh man, he's poking the bear and this. And it's like, the people involved in this, like, you know, because I think you look at it like, oh man, Trump supporters like taking over, and it's like these people in the game are fuck the government. We don't believe in the government. We're on the precipice of a collapse of the U.S. government. We're going to start it right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting that everyone kind of went in this defensive way to Trump supporters. And like, yes, you can see some corollaries of some of the most noxious, you know, the people who are overtly racist, you know, and definitely have those sentiments. But I don't think it's like it's a one-on-one.
Exactly.
It's more kind of a personification of a very strange and unsettling mentality that we are hurtling towards something that we can't control.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about
this is like I think an end of the world type cult.
Because game development pipelines are also such that like you don't make a game like Far Cry 5 and you started. It's not like they started this game 2 months ago or 3 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Like this has been in the works for forever. Likewise, I think it probably has more in common with like militias taking over like government buildings and stuff like that.
The Oregon militia, yeah, exactly.
But if you remember, like I think it was in the 90s, maybe the early 2000s. There was also, I think it was in Wisconsin. There were like, you know, this group that doesn't believe in taxes, and there was yet another one of those standoffs that was happening. It's the free somethings.
Yeah, and
the free people.
The one I'm blanking right now on the name, of course, because we're on camera. But it's the one of. David somebody or other, remember? It was
David Koresh.
Koresh. That was when I saw it and they started pitching, that's what I jumped to. So there are these corollaries to it that aren't, it's not set in the political unrest of right now, it's set in the disenfranchisement of the government, let alone the fact that this has been, and this is where I think one of the interesting things they're going to face, right, is let alone it's set in Montana, right? And we used to always joke around on the old shows of like Colin's whole thing was he just wanted to up and retire and have 40 acres and be up there living off the grid. And like that's people's interpretation of Montana. And now this game is that in a video game.
I don't think it's an unfair. This is not a negative stereotype as I see it in my head. That, you know, Montana is a place to get away.
Yeah.
You know, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And, you know, but yeah, it's a place to sort of be off the grid. And there's always been a kind of sentiment that comes from that part of the country of, hey, I just want to do my thing. Back off. It's kind of a more pure form of libertarianism.
Yeah. Well, they kept saying, like, one of the things they talk about in the presentation, right, is freedom, faith, and firearms.
Yeah.
Like, those being the three big things of Hope County.
They're really going for it. How?
Yeah.
Man, wowie. It's funny, too, because, like, I think there's a temptation to and I've done this personally, to think that this is some enormous pivot for Far Cry. In a lot of ways it is, but I'm thinking back and like Far Cry 2 was like an art game about surviving in Africa. Far Cry 3 was written by a dude who like his intent was to write all these incredibly weird metaphors in it and to like deal with like these just a troop of like American kids parachuting in and fucking around with no responsibilities. Far Cry 4 also had some really smart stuff going on with how they were handling like this fictional country.
How a dictator would take over.
And the fact that in Far Cry 4 the protagonist is like from that place, which I think they thought alleviated some of the weird like racial pressure. So they're
except for when they put out the cover art.
Right. Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
Oh my God. So I guess what's interesting to me here is that like they are once again not really. I just think that the Far Cry series is like really weirdly thoughtful for a AAA first-person action adventure like Ubisoft franchise.
And I think what I wonder about, there's two key things I'm wondering about is 3 and 4 started to go into a dark humor area, like especially in 4 you have the two guys who are just tripping out on drugs all the time.
Right.
That. I don't know if that would necessarily work in the game, at least as how it's initially been presented. That this might have to be a much more kind of serious game.
That's my thing. So before you get your second point, is you were talking before about like, oh man, it kind of gives off a True Detective vibe, right? And it does. But then when they show gameplay, it's Far Cry, and it is, and they show these character vignettes that'll be up tomorrow at the embargo, and it's like. They all start off very interesting. There's this woman, a barmaid, like cleaning her glass, and it looks like they're all set to act like you're in the right place, but then it kind of pivots and the bar's all screwed up, and she's like, "They killed my father. We're to go kill them." You're like, "Oh, that makes sense." Then it's this priest, right, and he's reading the Bible and he's talking about how he's the shepherd and da da da. But when somebody else have you go protect your flock, and they pin around and like the priest has got a gun in his Bible, like hollowed out, and he pulls it out, and then like his church has been blown apart, and he turns around and he gets the shotgun and throws it over his shoulder and walks out. And you're like, that is an interesting. Okay, and then the next one was like, I just want to raise this guy. It was crop duster, and he's like, I just want to raise my son right, blah, blah. And then he goes and the rudder's been shot out and he gets a Gatling gun and puts it on his thing. And you're like, well, what? And then they showed the gameplay, and the gameplay was all right, cool, it's the normal Far Cry, we're running around shooting everything, and then it was the crop duster coming in, it looked like Call of Duty, just blowing shit up and all this thing. And it's like, add that into the fact of then I know I'm going to be like, I wake up and I'm like, okay, I've got to get my resistance going. I'm going to punch 14 cows to death and get them to make a wallet. And it's like, wait, like how is this going to mash up with this very serious story?
I really am curious. My other thought is, what happens with the animals? Bears, I can imagine, okay, that's a dangerous animal that I know that's in Montana. Maybe a wolf.
Yeah.
But because it's less exotic in the most kind of inappropriate way, like it doesn't, I don't see the same kind of fauna. How that's going to play, and maybe it's going to be
who is going to be the honey badger? What Montana creature? Yeah, the turkey.
I didn't even think about the whole animal skinning and hunting component, because that's like it's going to be a little weird to be like the people's champion who's also sneaking into the people's farms and killing the people's animals and making like an ammo case.
And I'm sure they'll have some narrative reason for it, right?
Yeah.
That they've shut off this region. This is their town, so they're only doing this, or they have brought in exotic animals. That's one of their shticks for like when they take over and expand.
Or it could be seen as like they really are, I don't want to say rebooting, but they're kind of resetting. That maybe, they are sort of asking questions like, are there things that we associate with Far Cry that are so important to Far Cry, or are they something that maybe can be removed or altered? I mean, I feel like
after Far Cry Primal, I'm kind of animaled out a little bit. So if they want to dial that stuff back a little, like that's not... I could totally enjoy a Far Cry game that doesn't have the huge skinning thing in it. We've been doing that for like 3 or 4 games now. I could chill without that if they replace it with something substantial. I guess that's my big question for y'all is like, the game is clearly Far Cry, but like, what are the gameplay differences that they spoke to y'all about, if anything?
That's the thing. Gameplay wasn't on the menu.
Okay.
It was very much like, here's the setting, here's where we came from. They told the stories, like, you can't tell these stories anywhere else because it might endanger lives. We're like, all right, that's interesting for a video game presentation. Yeah. And then it was like, here's a quick succession of gameplay. We're like, all right, that looked like Far Cry, but with Call of Duty.
I think it's also, I think they're kind of getting awareness out there for Far Cry 5, which I would assume more will be learned,
of course,
at E3.
They're not at the gameplay step yet, but...
Well, I think the gameplay step is just, I would be very, very surprised we don't see more gameplay once we're at E3.
I suspect we will. Yeah.
The other interesting thing, I think, will just be, and this sounds so hokey, but the reaction to killing American civilians, like, right? Like this, they're a cult and they're a militia, and they're bad. They're clearly bad, right? I mean, but like we're gonna get in there and just like these farmers who have been duped by this guy who are trying to kill me that I'm now killing in mass numbers.
Yeah, it's weird because like, killing Americans is what you do in every other open world game. Watch Dogs, I killed 300 Americans.
See, that was my thing. Watch Dogs, I was no kill.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs, I was stunning people.
Watch Dogs
Marcus.
really, I felt like that was just felt so inappropriate to the tone of the world.
Yeah, I agree with that. With that, Marcus would not have done those things. But I guess what I'm saying is that it is new for Far Cry, and there's also
this was just me celebrating. By the way, this isn't Black Power. Okay. I realize this is how I do it in solidarity.
You do that for everyone.
Wait, hold on.
You're just saying,
Marcus.
Like, hey, we got 30 seconds left in this bit.
I guess, and tell me if I'm overthinking this, but like there is a difference between like running around like Los Santos or like doing like being in GTA and killing Americans versus like the killing you do in Far Cry is this intimate. You jumped off of a roof onto a dude and then you're knifing him in the chest with his face taking up half the screen.
It's born of desperation. I mean, that's what I think has always made some of the violence of Far Cry so interesting.
And conversely, it's maybe a little fucked up that I am squeamish about killing Americans in the first person with their face up here, but not other people.
And that's the thing that I really think is going to be a question to be asked, because when we were talking about afterwards, like, oh yeah, I guess, what does that say that I can go to an island place and everyone on the island is evil?
Exactly.
But I'm in Montana, I'm like, oh, sorry, this guy duped you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this doesn't feel weird.
I think that, and also knowing Far Cry and knowing how totally, they have a great track record up till, and then maybe stopping at Primal, of the villains being these incredibly evocative, horrifying people. I suspect that they won't have trouble making me hate these
100%.
I think they'll do it.
No. I mean, actually, when they showed, and you know, they went through the 4 members of the family and like kind of the role that they would play in solidifying the power of a cult. You know, because you need someone who's charismatic, you need someone who's kind of got the prophet.
Yeah.
You need,
and they've thought it through to the point of like, oh, and this one's a great lawyer, and that's how he got all the land. You're like, oh, that makes okay.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that, you know, once again, they may be all the more unsettling because they're not, I don't want to say cartoons, but they're extreme in a familiar way.
Right.
They're like 2 steps removed from like people you may know or people that you've been familiar with, say, just watching television or something.
I will say,
from the news.
From the jump, though, this new bearded main antagonist, he's missing, there was a real, undeniable, at least for me personally, sexiness factor with the Far Cry 4 antagonist.
Oh, Pagan Min?
Pagan Min was so hot.
Purple Joker suit.
The look and the outfit and the sort of just the way he talked to you and got right in your face, and just, I was like, I had this very pseudo-romantic attachment with Pagan Min that I don't expect to have with this weird
Well, there's
pastor.
one, the younger son who was kind of wearing this like flared out, you know, suit jacket. I think that was his name.
Yeah. John's the youngest brother.
That's the one. It's interesting. They seem to. There's the prophet who, you know, maybe kind of pulling back a little bit. Like he's one who kind of talks to God or something.
Yeah.
But then that son is more the charismatic one. Okay. And that's why he's wearing the flashy clothes. So I think he may be. It's almost like they've taken various aspects of like the Pagan Min type and put it into 4 different characters.
Interesting.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
I'm overall pumped for this game.
Yeah.
I love just the physical act of playing Far Cry games is so fun for me. Like Far Cry 4, I just fully 100%ed even after the story stuff was done, because I just the process of clearing out an outpost is just one of my favorite video game things to do, period. So I'm already in on the gameplay. The fact that they're doing weird, risky story stuff has me really excited. I'm here for Far Cry 5.
That's the thing, is I'm super interested to see where it goes.
This is currently, now that Red Dead Redemption 2 is moved into 2018. I mean, Far Cry 5 is now at the top of my list of what I'm excited to play this year.
Yeah, can't wait. Hopefully see more at E3. Thanks for watching this episode of the Gamecast, hosted by me, Greg Miller. Click here to subscribe. Click here to see more Gamescast videos. Click here to support us on Patreon. Click there to go see the Kind of Funny content we do at youtube.com/kindoffunny. I love you.